Hey, good morning, guys. My name is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, along with Jennifer Lovely. This is the Recovery Channel podcast. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show, wherever you are. It's actually 9:08 here in San Antonio. What about you, Jen? How's it going?
It's 8:09 here, and I'm doing well. It's a sunny, beautiful, starting to become warm. Hey, have you guys thawed out over there in Texas?
Yeah, I didn't realize when Jay Bear was telling me the degrees, because I still work off England, that it was 14 below freezing. I didn't realize that. That's why nothing works. I was freaked out that the air conditioning wasn't working. But yeah, we're back. All the heating's on. The water's good. So took a shower and stuff yesterday for the first time in 12 months. It had nothing to do with the water. No. So it was good. And then we had the spa last night that was back on again. So we did a bit of that. So we're all clean and ready to go today.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. That's a pretty traumatic for you Texans over there.
Yeah, it seemed that everyone freaked out. I mean, I went to one store and literally, there must have been about a 4-hour wait to get in. And people were saying when they finally got in, there was nothing there. Well, of course there wasn't. I mean, I don't know. I'd rather fly to Chicago, buy some bread and fly back than wait in a freaking 4-hour line. No way am I going to do that. It's just crazy.
I know.
That's the people that had to, if you know what I mean. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, coming up today, yeah?
Sorry, what'd you say?
A good show coming up today.
Ooh, let's get Michael on. I'm excited to talk to him. We're going to talk about the family.
Oh, excellent stuff. Guy Michael Gonzalez is on the show. We'll be right back after this. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Those guys who just joined in. My name is Dr. Rob Kelly, the Addiction Doctor, along with Jennifer Lovely. This is the Recovery Channel podcast, and thanks for joining us. As a special guest this week is Michael Gonzalez. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Doing good. Tell us where you are and what you do.
Currently, I'm actually in Oklahoma City. I am in Pryor, Oklahoma. I'm here helping my mom out. But what I do in my normal life is I'm an interventionist. I help people and I help families find help for their loved ones. They're suffering from addictions.
I love that. So you are on A&E, is that correct?
Correct. I've been blessed with the opportunity to be on the television show Intervention. I've been on the show for, I started on the show as a driver, actually, as a companion. So it's been quite a few years, but I started doing interventions for the show. I think it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, that's where I've predominantly done a lot of my work is the intervention field.
Does it feel weird having a camera follow you around while you're doing an intervention, or does it feel pretty normal?
When I'm doing interventions, I kind of just, it's really normal. I don't even see them there. When the intervention process starts, when I'm helping families, I'm really focused. So it's really like, I get in this zone where I'm focused on what they're saying and what they're doing, and the surroundings. I know they're there, but it's just not something that it doesn't really bother me at all.
So for those people sat at home who don't know, what is an intervention, Mike?
So an intervention is typically, when families call me, it's the last ditch effort. An intervention in my eyes is something where a family comes together because they can no longer get through to their loved one, and they hire a professional to help them seek help for their loved one that's suffering from addiction. That's what an intervention means to me. When families call me, I'm typically the last ditch effort. People don't call me first. When I get the phone call, it's because everybody else has not been able to get through to them.
Yeah, and the thing about intervention that's interesting is that, to me, coming from how I got into the program is through my children. They both are recovering heroin addicts, and we tried interventions. But the thing is that the intervention was really for me as the parent, and I don't know that people really understand that when they call you Michael, right? Like they don't know that they're actually doing it for themselves. So talk to me a little bit about what that's like for you to go into a family when there is, shame and toxicity and trauma. How do you work that?
Typically when families do call me, like I said, I'm their last ditch. They've tried multiple people, they've tried multiple scenarios, they've tried to manipulate every scenario in getting help for their loved one, because that's, families don't realize how sick they are. When I come into the scene, I let families know right up front, I will absolutely help your loved one, but I also have to help you. And that's a part of my contract. I do not just help the person we're intervening on. That is the easiest thing in the world to identify. Who's struggling? That's easy. We can always identify that. The problem is we need to find the weak links in the chain. The weak links in the chain are the family. The family is a lot sicker than the person that's actually on the spiral down in the rabbit hole. Typically, the family has got a lot of outlying issues that they don't realize they have. And sometimes they're addicted themselves. So, when I step in and I come into these families' lives, I let them know from Jump Street that if I'm involved, there's the only way we can continue is as long as they're willing to get help themselves, because I'm intervening on the whole family. I'm not intervening on just one person. It's literally the whole family dynamic. The family system is out of whack. It's years of trauma. It's years of abuse. It's a family system that's just been run through the ringer for a lot of years. So it's not just one thing.
So I take it that I know Ken Seeley uses the Johnson model. I take it you do the same when you're out, obviously, because it's the trend. But does the Johnson model work on the family?
Well, here's the thing: is I do the Johnson model, for the television show. I do the Johnson model when it really deems necessary. But for family members, the confrontation and the take away and give, it doesn't work. There has to be more love. It's not a punishment. What we do for the television show, obviously people are at their bottom, but 9 times out of 10, I don't use the Johnson model. That just works for that scenario. But when working with families, the Johnson model is a very hard model to try to help the family with. There has to be a lot of other outsourcing to get the family to get the right help.
So let me take you back from that place. What was your trauma that got you into your addiction, that triggered maybe your addiction?
I am a survivor. I'm a trauma survivor. I'm a sexual abuse survivor. There's a lot of things that have happened to me in my childhood, and I think that doing the work that I've done, a lot of that is absolutely one of the motivating factors of why I used, because I was running from a lot of pain. But a lot of the trauma that I experienced in my adult life, being incarcerated, that is where a lot of the problems came up I would say in the last 10 years of my life, where I had to really do some digging. I'm coming up on 14 years sober, so sobriety is definitely a part of my everyday normal life. So I became very good at being sober, but I was not dealing with a lot of the inner struggles. So for me, especially being in this field of helping people, if I'm not doing my work, I can't help people. People do it. People are out there doing it, and I'm guilty of that myself. We get carried away with that, but our work that we have to do on ourselves with our trauma is very important. And for me, it's really dealing with a lot of the violence in my past and a lot of the abuse that I've gone through. And becoming a doormat, so to speak, because we become yes men and yes women when we get sober. We don't know how to do life. We're different people, so there's a lot of living that I have to learn, and I couldn't do it on my own. I had to do it with professionals. There wasn't anything wrong with me, but there was a lot of things that I hadn't dealt with.
The question I want to ask is: do abusers still abuse?
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
Do abusers abuse?
You broke up again.
Do people who've got abuse people?
Absolutely, hurt people if you don't do something about it.
Unless you get help, of course.
That's right. 100%, hands down. The proof is all there. Hurt people if you don't go and get the help that you need.
When was your point though, when you thought that you needed to get help? What was that specific time?
I was at a jumping off point. For me, it was about 5 years ago where I knew that I had to make some changes in my life. That the trauma was just piling, and me helping people was just adding more trauma to my life. I was taking everybody's family systems in, and I wasn't getting rid of them. I was internalizing everybody's stuff, and I was just wrapping it around all my own personal struggles and my own personal path. And what we don't realize is people that help people, we sometimes get lost and we don't do our own work, and that's what happens. And that's definitely what happened to me.
So in that process, was there a relapse, or was it an emotional relapse?
There was an absolute emotional relapse. There was an absolute, sobriety is my identity. Sobriety, what I thought was my identity. That was me. There was nothing else to me except my sobriety. So for me, a little over 3 years ago, the option for me was suicide. The option for me was extreme mental health issues going on. I was very distraught with some personal things in my life. With my family, my own personal family, and the option for me seemed like suicide, and I was at that literal jumping off point. But I had a literal spiritual experience that happened to me, and I'll share it here if you guys would like to hear it.
I'd love to hear it.
I think it was about 3 years ago now. I was at a literal jumping off point in my life. Sobriety was me, and I that's just a given. So my option with all the pain was I was going to commit suicide, and I was at a jumping off point in Spokane, Washington, where I used to live with my former wife and my family. And I was ready to end it all because I hadn't dealt with the inner turmoil, which was the abuse and the trauma that I had dealt with in my life, and piling that on with all the people I was helping, I just couldn't deal anymore. I couldn't deal. My life was in a good place. On the outside looking in, everything looked fine. I'm on television helping people. My business was flourishing. My kids are doing great. Everything seemed good, but not inside. And so at that jumping off point, I was ready to end it all. I was on the side of a bridge, and God stepped in. And I call God, for me, is God. He is something that I follow. I call him he. He's probably a tree for all I know. But the things that I believe in, there's absolutely something bigger than me. And he stepped in that day in the sound of a car horn. And my life hasn't been the same ever since. It's been a really rough 3 years. But I can say that I'm actually doing the self-care to be able to actually help people on the other side of this thing. And, God, he stepped in a moment of just extreme chaos for me. And he stepped in, and I knew at that very moment I needed to make a call for help. And I did. And that moment of clarity came, in a bunch of chaos. But I made a phone call to the guest house, to a good friend of mine, Judy Crane, and I went and got the help that I needed. And I was there for almost 90 days dealing with trauma, strictly trauma. And that was the hardest thing I've ever done. Getting sober was hard, let me tell you. But dealing with my trauma and being able to continuously look at it now is no easy task. It was the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life.
That's what a lot of people miss as well. I mean, anybody can get sober. Everyone in the world can get sober, but it's doing the thing. So surely if you've been sober for 14 years and the last 3 years you was thinking of committing suicide, surely that when you stop drinking and using, all your problems are solved, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're just solved with a flick. They're not. They're still there. Crazy,
isn't it? That's what people struggle with. You can be clean and sober, and you can look great on the outside, but on the inside, if you don't sort that shit out, if you don't go back to the scene of the crime and sort it out, then you will drink because as we say here, it's not the alcohol. The alcohol is not the problem. The drugs are not a problem. The fucking problem is me. And if I don't sort me out and get help for me, because I can't help myself. This isn't people come to me and they go, "I'll do this on my own." You cannot do this on your own. The definition of insanity when it's alcohol and drugs is not being able to see my own truth. The people that are insane don't know they're insane. It's doctors that say you're insane, and then you believe it. It's like, but you need people coming up and going, no, this is what we need to do. And I'm so glad over the last maybe 5 or 6 years that we've actually looked, because I study brain science. We've actually looked at the brain going, hey, the central nervous system and the brain has got a lot more to do with addiction than anything else. In fact, the most intoxicating part of addiction and drugs is the drive to the dealer. We've proven that with the tests that we've done. You get all happy and everything when you go in there, not even had the drug yet. And then you get there and take it and you're fucked, you're out. You don't know what day it is. So the most intoxicating is going there. And that's what we did with about, I don't know how many it was, maybe 25 people that was, which amazed me. It's like, surely it's the drug, but if it's not the drug, what is it? It's my head. And if I don't sort my head out, then I will relapse. If I'm the real deal, mind you. We both know you get them guys that can start from day one and everything's great. But for the real deal, there has to be a spiritual experience and there has to be a psychic change. And when they both happen, our DNA changes. So why is it important our DNA changes? Well, the book that we know, both of us, and Jen as well from her sons, is the same man will drink again. Period. You know, you can't be the same guy, and because you'll fucking drink again. I've proven it. I'm sure you have, Michael.
I
over
have.
the years. Yeah, I'm glad we're looking at the family, which is most important. We've started. If we don't take on the family, won't come on. We won't take the patient. End of story. Don't even want to discuss it because that is where 50% of the problem is, as you know. But interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So glad you do that.
You know, it's interesting, Michael. I think about like I literally had to divorce my husband so that I could deal with my trauma. Because it continued to come up and it came up. And I'm not saying he wasn't somebody that he wasn't a good person. You know, like there was a reason I divorced him. But what I also want to say in that is that until I looked at my trauma, I was always pointing my finger at him.
Yep.
And he was an easy person to blame. And then when I left, I was able to go, who else can I blame? Who else can I point the finger to? And it was really just me. And until I did that work, I was not going to get help. And I actually was not going to support my kids and their sobriety until I did the work.
That's right. I that's one of the things that I have really learned really here of late. You know, my part in everything. You know, I understand that people are addicted, they relapse, and there's a story to everything. And my ex-wife has her path, and I have my path. But I have to own mine. I can't run away from my problems and the issues that I have underlying that she had nothing to do with. You know, I had to fix me. I had to take a year off after treatment, guys. I had to take a whole year off. I stuck to my plan, my recovery plan that I did with my treatment team. You know, if I wanted to be the person that I wanted to be, I had to do the work, and I had to realize that helping people was part of the problem at the time. Because I wasn't healthy enough to help people. You know, I can put on a good show and I can put on that smile just like anybody else. I can. But the real work comes and the real payoff comes is people can tell when you're actually healthy.
Of course they can. They can see.
They can tell.
We can all see a bullshitter. You know, another research that we did years ago was when PTSD came out, when all the guys from Afghanistan started to come back, and I'm not belittling that, guys. You know, I love the armed forces. I love the guys that served our country. I'm big on America, end of story. But what we found out is the warfare in the house and the trauma in an abusive house is just as damaging as somebody going to war. Absolutely. And people go, wow, there is, especially with the children coming up. You know, as you come up through your teens, you're seeing that on a daily basis. You're hiding when dad comes home. You don't know what sort of deal it's going to be. You could get attacked at any time from dad. It's just as damaging regarding PTSD as the war in Afghanistan. And that's what's missing today. You know, people just think it's the drugs or the alcohol. If they can you come down and do an intervention on my son because I think he needs to stop drinking. Really? Yeah. That's what you fucking take from that? You know, just like the guys, you ask anybody in the streets, what's an alcoholic? Oh, it's somebody who abuses alcohol. Really? Fuck me. We need to get up and start shouting this from the top of the mountains out there. It's nothing to do with what you think it is. Stop using textbooks from fucking 40 years ago when we have the science today that it's a lot more than the alcohol and the drugs. So let's get real. You know, if I go to a counselor and if she hasn't been an alcoholic or an addict, what can she do to me? How does she know what I'm going through? I want to stab my fucking wife, you know, before I have a drink. How can she stand there and go, oh, I understand. Well, I think you should take a warm bath and that might cool you down. You don't understand unless you've been there. So your experience is very important, Michael.
I think that something that I tell families today, because it's 2021. We're in this new cars drive themselves. We're landing on other planets. So for people to be stuck on things that we learned in 1950, it's just we're doing ourselves a disservice. I think that we can do a lot better than that. As a person, as a human, yes, but I mean scientifically, we have doctors, we have smart people on this. We know what we need to do. We know that we have to dig deep. We know that alcohol is a symptom, man. We're the problem. Everything underneath this is the problem. Everything we've had dealt with in the past, that's the problem. It's not what we're doing today. It's what happened yesterday is what we're stuck on. And that's everybody. That's every family. Well, Joey got sober for 3 days. and we were all happy and loving, and the whole family was great. But Mom wasn't. She was in the back room wondering when Joey was going to relapse so she could get back to her life of taking care of Joey, because she doesn't have anything else to do. She doesn't have anything else to do. That's PTSD in its finest. That's trauma in its finest. She can't live her life without little Joey being on drugs. That is the story I always run into. And then there's the dad that doesn't know what to do, so he just shells out the money. These are all things that happen to them. It has nothing to do with little Joey. It's always everything that we've done in our past. And
it's
families.
So fascinating, Michael, because that is literally the conversation that Dr. Rob and I were having before you jumped on, is that, you know, there is something that we, as the family, we get from taking care of. I have a little Joey, by the way, for real, right? There's something that I got off on. It's like a existential kink. We get off on taking care of the other people so we don't have to look at ourselves.
That's
and
right.
When we can honor the kink, when we can honor that really we get off on that and there's something to that, that's when the healing works. That's when it becomes like, oh, it comes to light, and then we can begin to do our work. But until then, we're stuck in the person's addiction. What I like to say is I was addicted to their addiction.
Correct. It's 9 times out of 10 what every family member deals with, and they don't want to admit. Even a husband who is just the guy that sits in the background and is the normal man and lets Mom take care of everything. That is a role that he has learned to play.
Yep.
I'm sorry, that's just what that is. That is something his brain has taught him to do to protect himself.
It's amazing how all the house gets a mess, because I often say when we take a patient on, I warn them, there's somebody in your family, and it doesn't have to be immediate, that wants you to fail. And we need to seek them out of the 90 days that you're going to be here, and we need to be wary. So if it's Mom, we need to extra work on that particular part. But there is someone who always wants you to fail. So, Mike, give me the best and the worst time of your life to date.
To date, the best and worst time. The worst time was when I got sentenced to 36 years in prison. That was definitely the worst, most horrifying. I can hear it like it was yesterday, the judge saying 36 years and hitting the gavel. I know his name to this day. I could just picture it. Worst day of my life. Worst day ever. Best day of my life? I was standing on the bridge, ready to end it all, and God stepped in. That is the best day of my life, because then I was willing to do the work. And it's still scary to this day, because I got to get up every day and do it. But that is the best thing that's ever happened to me, is because I've opened my eyes and I've been able to move forward with my family.
When you say God stepped into your life, explain that in more detail. When you were stood on that bridge.
So when I was standing on the side of the bridge in Spokane, Washington, there's a bridge called Suicide Bridge. I was standing on a pillar sideways because my feet are so big I couldn't fit on the bridge. And so I was standing sideways. A car was driving by. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, seen me honk their horn, scared me, startled me. My foot slipped off the bridge. I fell backwards onto the concrete. God absolutely stepped into my life. I fell backwards, and my life has never been the same since. I wish I could find that person who honked at me, because it saved my life, but it saved my kid's life.
Or was it a person?
Yeah.
See, that's what we got to look in, because my story went to homelessness. I looked up to the sky and said, if there's a God up there, I can't do this anymore. The guy walked around the corner, 3:30 in the morning, whatever it was, missed his last bus home from Bible study, walked for 2 hours, bumps in me, texts me home, takes me to this meeting, because I hate meetings, meets this guy called John, who called himself a recovered alcoholic. Yeah, I walked to his house every week for, I think it was 8 or 12 weeks, to do a book study with him, and then the steps. And I knew when I come out of that man's house 33 years ago, that I would never drink ever again. So when I did get and he also told me amazing things will happen. So the next day I was offered a part-time job. That led to a full-time job within a week. Within 2 weeks, somebody offered me a room in their apartment. And it kept doing this. So after the month I got my paycheck, I went to the gas station. I bought him a little teddy bear and a little card. And I walked again almost an hour to his house. And I knocked on the door, and there was nobody there. And the next door neighbor come out, and she says, "Can I help you?" And I says, "Can you tell me where John's relocated to?" And she said, and I quote, "There's been no one in that apartment for the last 6 months." So I let her go back in. I went to the other side, and I banged on the door, because now I'm a little nervous. And the guy came out, and I said, "Can you tell me where John's moved to?" And he said that house has been empty for 12 months. My brother or something left, and never found that guy. So it always makes me think: was it a car? Was it just a vision of a car? I don't know. Just
That's
awesome
amazing.
story.
It's amazing. That's amazing.
Mm.
It makes me, you guys. It makes me think of when people argue with that whole. Like I'm a 22-time felon. I spent half my life in prison, and now I get blessed with the opportunity of helping people. I didn't seek what I do. I didn't seek out any intervention. It literally fell in my lap. I reached out to a friend because his dog died, and I wanted to comfort him, and I've got blessed with an opportunity in my life that I shouldn't be here. I should have been. I had a 36-year prison sentence. I should not be here, but yet I'm here. Yet I got blessed with the opportunity to help millions of people by just sharing my story and helping. I am a firm believer, and there is a lot of help going on out here.
Yeah.
And we are closed off to it a lot of times, and we shouldn't be.
We are. So talk to me about what I believe that in our suffering, there's something that wants to bubble up and be expressed. Michael, what wanted to be expressed within you?
I think, in all of my suffering, for this guy, for this alcoholic, this drug addict, this trauma survivor, this sexual abuse survivor, for me, it was letting other people know that I could look the way I look and be this man and cry and ask for help and get that help. Because there's a lot of people out there like me that don't deserve, they think they don't deserve the help. And they think that because we're in this society of, we got to be tough, that we can't ask for help. And that's just the most foul learning that we learn as human beings, because, I'm a walking, talking example of these big tough guys can get help. Because I'm not, I tell people all the time, you can Google me and you can put my number down and you can find me very easily. And this tough guy got help. This tough guy turned into a softie. This tough guy has 3 beautiful kids. I look forward to every day to be a human being. How do you argue with that? That's the gift that I get to do for people, because on the outside, I look different. But when you talk to me, I definitely have a message that I didn't know I had, man. I didn't know I had it. And the only way I got it was somebody helped me. Somebody put their hand out and said, you don't got to be like that. You don't have to be that tough guy. You aren't that tough guy. You aren't that mean person. You're somebody that wants to help people, and there's a lot out there that can be done for you. I have to be willing to be open for that, and that message is, I carry that very proud. I carry that message. I want people to understand that you can come from where I came from and you can change.
I think that's what's
everybody
needed
has a shot.
It's needed in this game today, because we see housewives and middle management guys in rehab for the last 10, 20 years going there time and time again. But you have to admit that where me and you, because I was homeless, where me and you were to where we are today is humanly impossible. Would you agree?
That's right.
That's right. It's humanly impossible. So when people doubt God, I just say, well, first of all, there's 26,000. Just fucking pick one, if you're trying to get well. Yep. And secondly, I'm not asking you to believe this shit. You asked me to tell you my story. I've told you. Whether you believe it is de minimis. I don't give a fuck. This is my story, and I believe, and between all 3 of us, there must be millions of people with a ripple effect that we've affected. And that's the bottom line. If you walk into a room and you don't know what you're doing, and you've been to college for fucking 6 months and learned how to be an interventionist, you're not going to cut it. It ain't going to work. Because alcoholics and addicts can see through people, time and time again. But when you sit down and start to talk about your passion, and then they look, I've got to tell you a funny story. We've done interventions in the past. We still do them. We've done a couple of thousand over the years, but there was one specific instance where a family called us and said, "Hey, we've tried 3 interventions, companies, no good. The police won't come in and arrest him because he's a very violent man," and all this stuff. But the police and the family and the services were all ready for us to come down doing an intervention, and they were willing. And I know it's not the money, but it's a service. But they were willing to pay an extortionate amount of money for us to come down. Extortionate, like 20, 30 grand it was, or something like that. So I thought, well, fuck it. the guy's a big guy. I'm going to shave my head and I'm going to walk in there as nasty as shit. I'm going to handcuff him and throw him in the fucking car. That was the idea. Expecting him to fight, obviously. So, you know, me and a friend went down. I was going to take him down. So I shaved my head. I looked like a robber's dog. I really did. We pulled him inside the house. We did a Johnson Mother. We did the night before. And then all of a sudden, he was already in the house. The family were in the house. And we pulled up and I walked in. And I put my biggest stance on, you know. And I walked in his bald head. And before I could say, you know, Peter, he went, oh, fuck, okay, let's go. And I'm thinking, I've just shaved my head for this, you know? But yeah, I think when they're ready, aren't they?
You know, the families, it's always the same thing with every family. They tell me, Michael, this is going to be the one where, you know, you're just going to have the hardest time. I hear that from every family. I can't even tell you how many interventions I've done, guys. They all have gone. I've been doing this for a long time. Every single person has gone. You know why? Because they go when they're ready. Yeah. Whether they go that day when I presented the plan to them, every family thinks their family member is going to be violent, this, that, and the other. No, they're 9 times out of 10, they're happy to see me and they're grateful it's over. Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm. You know, and whether they take it that day or they're mad at their family because they just didn't communicate with them sometimes, they always go to treatment. They always seek out help because I bring a message. The message is love. It's not. It's a gift. I'm not there. Sometimes it's the Johnson model because they're acting a fool. But it's a gift. It's always a gift. I'm not there to punish anybody. And I always make the family know that up front and clear that, like, I'm not a jailer. I'm not going to come there and handcuff them. I'm not going to hog tie them and throw them in the car. I'm going to get them to understand why they need to get in the car with me. That's it. And that's the gift I have. But I also get the families to understand, but when I'm done with that, I'm going to come back for you. Because we don't leave anybody behind. And what I do, we don't leave anybody behind. We got to get everybody healthy because otherwise, what's the point? What the hell is the point?
Time.
You're wasting. It's a waste of freaking time. I tell the families up front, families will pay me whatever I ask. That's not why I do this. I want families to pay me for a job done well and done right. That's it. I don't want to put a Band-Aid on situations for families because it didn't work for me. Why would it work for them?
No, and it's about healing. It's not about, you know, the money or it's not even a job. Look, so I think about the times that I've packed my children's bags for them to be homeless, literally packed them. And, you know, I'll bet, but you know, that I packed them at least clean socks and clean underwear and was like, here's some soap so you can go take a shower somewhere. And here's a toothbrush. Make sure you brush your teeth. All of the things. But I packed them so that they could go and be homeless and that they could go live on the streets because inevitably that's what they were choosing at the time and that's what they wanted. How do you tell parents, like, I love you, I support you, I believe in you, call me when you want the help, and this is what you choose? How do you get that across to parents? Because that's always such a hard thing. Like, Jennifer, you don't understand. I can't allow my child to be homeless. I can't allow them to live in their car. It's like, yes, I do. I can understand. But what do you tell them, Michael?
First of all, I tell family members that, you know, go to any lengths to help your family member. But there's a line that if you're willing to bury yourself for them to get help, then you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You know, there has to be a line, and I'm very clear with families. I simply tell them, you can't make them do this. You have to step away. You're helping them die. And I'm very upfront and honest with people. I'm not trying to scare them because when people come to me, it's not their first. I don't think I've ever experienced, you're our first intervention. I've never experienced that. People call me and it's because they've been through the ringer. So I'm always very stern with the families and letting them know that you have to let them go. They have my number. They don't need your number anymore. They don't see or hear you. They don't. That's what families don't understand. They don't see or hear them. They're not dealing with their loved one anymore. Yeah. That's not them. Right. You're dealing with whatever issue, whatever substance, whatever has happened to them. That's what you're dealing with. That's who you're dealing with. You know, and they don't care if they're going to steal your car to get it. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. And you taking it personal is not going to help at all.
Right.
I love it. Guys, Michael Gonzalez on the show. We'll be right back after this from Recover Me Coaching. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. That's recoverycoaching.com. Give us a quick visit on that page. We've also some exciting stuff coming up in March. So this is a Recovery Channel podcast, guys. I see there's a few people watching. There's a couple of people just popped on. Michael Gonzalez, who's an interventionist, is on the show today. Michael, let me ask you one thing. Going back over everything you've been through, all the trials, tribulations, all the happiness, all the smiles, would you change anything about your past?
Ah, man. I'm a father. Of course I would. Yeah, I would change a lot of things. Well, growing up, I grew up in a household where, alcoholics, gang infestation, just a bad way, but I was a good athlete. I was a very good athlete, and if I could have gotten a little help and made a couple of changes, I would have loved to see where I could have taken that. So absolutely. I've missed out on a lot of opportunities because of selfishness and drug addiction and self-medicating. And I could have done something fun, and it could have been a different route. I don't know, but I definitely have some regrets though in that sense. But as a parent, I made a lot of mistakes, and so I do have regrets. Absolutely.
Yeah, and what do you want people to know about the work that you do? What do you want to leave people with, and what's the impact that you want to have on people's lives?
My biggest thing is hope. That's my biggest. I lead with everything with hope. I want people to know that there is hope. I was sitting in prison with a 36-year sentence. Somehow, some way, I'm sitting here. Something stepped in and got me out, and we all know what that is. For me, it's God, and that's the way it works. But, hope is a big thing for me. When I meet people, I want to leave them with hope. When I leave families, I won't leave until they have some hope, because that's all it takes. It took a little bit of hope for me to follow through with some paperwork while I was sitting in prison, and here I'm sitting here. It was just a little bit of hope that I might be able to beat this thing. To get on the other side. All I needed was a little bit of hope, man. And that is my biggest thing today. I social media and everything like that, I lead with some hope. I want people to know that there is hope out there, and we can get through this, but we got to do it together. We can't do it alone. We just can't. We're in this time in the world too that we can't do this alone. We have to have each other. We need help to get through life. And all we need is hope to get there.
Definitely a team effort. What we can't do alone, we can do in a group. There was a test. Kind of running out of time, but I want to tell you this. It might make you think about one or two things. But there was a test that we did many years ago, where we got 10 mice in 10 different cages with a feed of water and cocaine in one feeder and just water in the other. And of course, every 9 out of 10 went for the cocaine every time in single cages. But what we did then, it was into science. It was in a university. We got, and the professor knew what was going to happen, but we didn't. And they got all the mice and they stuck them in one cage with the same feed of water and the same feed of cocaine and water. And 9 out of the 10, after a little while of mixing them out, went for the water. And I'm like bemused, going, what's that? And he went, together as a population or as a group, we can change. But on your own, you're never going to change. And I just thought it was so powerful of just reiterating the fact that this is not a one-man deal. And the answer is God, whether you like it or not. And God doesn't stand for a group of drunks. How dare you? Stands
How
for
dare
God.
you?
No, you don't. Simple as that. How dare you? Who the fuck do you think you are? I want to choose everyone. I want to thank everyone keeping me sober. They can't fucking keep you sober, you idiot. What are they going to do? No human power. Come on. Don't even get me started on this shit. But yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. Like, we've got to do it together. We've got to be loud and proud, Me and Jen are the gobshites out there who say things that other people are thinking, but somebody's got to do it. You've got to be out there like yourself, Michael, and you've got to be real, and you've got to be gritty, you've got to be intelligent, but you've got to be streetwise. It's like all these mixture of things that you've got to have if you're going to be as successful as you've been. As simple as that. That's what I think anyway. I think you're going to be more successful than anybody else I know, because of your experience. Because, hey, what do you know, Michael? You've never been in prison. Check. What do you know? Never check. You check all them boxes and go, fucking ready to go now. Okay. It's amazing. So I know we're running out of time, and I'm going to let Jen finish up. But before we do, I want to thank you so much. You've inspired me today. I have a very busy, yesterday was a sad day for us. Today's a very busy day. I go and take my citizenship today test. So I'm all over the place. But I'll tell you something now. You have made my day. you have kind of turned my whole life today upside down. Because when I look in your eyes, I see a man with a big heart. I see a man with a lot of experience. And I see a man that's willing to go to any lengths to make sure the other person gets well. And I see a man not doing this for the money. And I just love you to bits. I'm going to research you. We're going to stay in touch. You're just an awesome guy. I don't think we're going to finish on this just one show, Jen. Oh, we need a second show for you, because you have had an effect on me today, Michael. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for that, because you've just turned it all around. So from me, Michael, I'll say bye. Thank you so much for coming on. I'll get in contact. Me and Jen will be in contact soon. And have a fantastic day, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
And I really want to say, like, success is not a convenient journey. So what do you want to leave people with? Besides our tears, we always cry on this show.
I think that what I want to leave people with is, you never know what's around the next corner. You don't. Because I was sitting there 3 years ago. I didn't know it was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, you never know what's going to be around the corner, and you never know who's going to be there to help you. You know, never give up. Never. Just never give up. That's my thing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about me. If I don't know what's around the corner, I just hope it's fucking you, Mike. That's all I can say. Guys, thanks for watching. It's been a fantastic show. Michael Gonzales was on the show. We want to say thank you for watching. The figures were higher than usual today. I don't know whether God's telling me and Jen something, or whether it's an amazing show. I think the latter. It was an amazing show, and I know I've got a few comments here we haven't got time to do. But for now, thank you so much indeed, and we'll see you next week, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye, Michael.